Hello, my name's Will. I'm a developer here at Runa working on our APIs as well as our underlying ordering pipeline. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about some of the differences between our Connect and Runa APIs, as well as showing you how you might begin an integration with our new Runa API. So to kick us off, let's have a look at some of the technical differences between the Connect and Runa APIs. The Connect API is synchronous only, and that's reflected in the ability to only order single items or a single configuration with very limited quantities. The Runa API has both a synchronous and an asynchronous mode, the asynchronous mode unlocking up to 500 items in a single order. The Connect API only has a single API key per account, whereas the Runa API supports multiple keys with the ability to revoke keys as required. With the more comprehensive item structure in the order, it makes it a lot easier now to order payout links. You don't require a template to be pre-created in order to order payout links. They can just be created at time of order. We also have added versioning support, which will make it easier for us to evolve features into the new API without requiring this large shift between two very large versions. The first decision you're going to have to make when building your integration with the API is whether you're going to target the synchronous or the asynchronous ordering modes. The synchronous mode is similar to Connect, where you make one call for both creation and you get the result back in the same HTTP response. However, the async mode, there's one call for creation, and then you either have to poll or use our webhook to trigger an event on your side for the result. The reasoning for using async is you get a larger quantity of items supported. You can order up to 500 items, whereas the synchronous mode can only order a single order item. The synchronous mode generally is better for simple integrations where you need a single order item, or you require a procedural flow where you execute the entire order just in one block of code, whereas the async version is best if you have an event-based flow or the requirements to use a large number of items in an order. So to kick off an integration, I'm going to be demoing today using JavaScript, but this is applicable to any language that you may use. The first thing we're going to need is an API key, so I'm just going to switch over to our application. We're in the API keys section, and I'm going to create a new key. This is going to be a playground key because we want to test without spending any money to start with. I'm going to give this key a label and tick the box to acknowledge the security requirements of taking an API key. Of note here is I'm recording this session, so this API key will need revoking after the fact. So let's switch back over here. I'm going to pop that API key up the top here, and let's just store it in a variable. So you could store this in an environment variable or some other way within your system. We also are going to need to specify the base URL that we're dealing with. And if you look in the API docs, there's a little drop down here to choose between the production and playground versions, and this will tell us the base URL we need to use. So in this case, it is playground.runa.io/v2. And the first thing we're going to do is pull the list of products. So I am going to write a function to get products, and looking at the API, I can tell it takes a country code and returns an array of products. So let's start with that. We're going to need a country code, and we're going to want to, let's grab the response using the fetch API in JavaScript. It's the base URL and v2 we have there, so /products. The method for this endpoint is a get. We're going to need some headers. We'll get to that in a sec. And once we have the response, we will need to pass that out as JSON. So let's call this body. Okay, this function will want to be async. And let's define some common headers that we'll be using. First of all, is some standard headers for working with a JSON API. So we will want to specify that we are talking JSON. So both the accept header for what we're receiving and the content type header for what we're receiving. The API key comes as a custom header called X API key. So let's pop that in. And lastly, you'll find a guide around API versioning. Will dictate we need to use the X API version header along with the current version. This is an optional key. We will default to the version that you start using at the beginning of your account, but it's preferable to define this here so we have control over it. So let's just pass the headers in like that. We need to specify the country code. Then let's grab products for the US, for example, and we want to return the body. Okay. Let's have a look at that. Just got the URL wrong there. So you can see we get a response back with 398 products. So if I was to look for the first product and ask for its name, I would get the name of the first product. So cool. We now have a list of products. What can we do with them? We want to place an order. So let's define a function for creating a new order. Within our system, we're going to call it place order. And this is going to take a order, so the request body. And I'm also going to define an item potency key, which we'll get to in a sec. And this one is going to be quite similar structure to here, except this is going to be a post, and we're going to be hitting the order endpoint. The headers we're going to need a touch more control over, so we'll break that out. And we are going to need to pass the body, which, double check how that's done, that is just body. So we want body to be stringified version of the order, like that. So we're calling the order endpoint, post, headers, and the body. And if I was to call this now, with an empty body and say an empty item potency key, and let's log out the order response. Returning that body, we should expect to get some error around. So we're getting a validation error here because our body very much does not include everything we need from the order. What I will do, just so we can demonstrate what that body looks like, Here we go. So we're getting a detail around the fields that are missing. So fields required, body, payment method, body and items. So these are the two required items that we need. You can see here payment method and items. We'll need to provide those in order to continue. So let's set up the payment method to start with. We can see payment method is a top level key that is required. We use the snake case convention in the API, so switch to that. And we're going to use an account payment. So that requires I need a type of account balance, and I also need to specify a currency, in this case USD, and let us define the single order item, which we'll place to start with. So we're going to start with just ordering a single item, which defines a single product to order. So items, we need a face value. Let's just do 10. And again, we need the snake case. Attribution method. And this is going to be email we're going to use. So I'm going to specify the type, email, and email address. It's going to be a demo account that I have. And finally, we need to specify the products that are available in this. And this is what I was talking about earlier with the items being very flexible. So we can specify multiple items in an order, each with a different face value, each with a different distribution method, and each with a different product selection. So this order, as I was saying, we're going to be doing a single product. So I need to specify a single product type. So type single, and the value. The value here is referring to the product code value. So we have a list of products here. We're going to grab products. Actually, let's grab products, the first one, and just use the code. Don't need to worry too much about what to use now. So we specified the payment method. Now we need to specify the items. And we're just going to pass in that single order item. There we go. And if we execute that, we should get an error around, yes, the missing item potency key. So I'm just going to bring in some utilities to help us out with the item potency key. This is just a snippet of JavaScript to generate a random short textual string, just so I don't need any other requirements in this package. The item potency key, the important thing about this is here to prevent duplicate orders in the case that you need to send an order more than once. So for example, if there's a network error or some other issue where you don't receive a response, you can send the exact same request with the same item potency key, and this will return what would have been returned the first time round, and it would not place another order. And the way we send that is there is a header called x idem potency key, and if we do that, and we're just going to generate an item potency key at time of order. And sending this. Ooh, what have I done? Item potency key, missing a comma. We now get a response back. So this order has been accepted and it's processing. And you'll see here that we're getting very little other details. This is because we're operating in the asynchronous mode. So if we take that order ID and we switch to the get an order detail endpoint, we're going to pop that ID in. We're going to grab the key, and we're going to send that. We would get the full response back if we then queried later. I'm going to switch to the synchronous mode because I'm just placing a order for a single item here. I don't need the asynchronous functionality yet. So this I want execution mode, and the execution mode is sync. So if I call that endpoint again, I should now get the entire order body back, where I have the ID, the items in the order, and the actual redemption URL. Even though I am sending via email, I still do get the option to get the URL for the link that I've created. So the next thing I'd like to try out is I've ordered a single order item. How about a multi-product link, which we would call a payout link? So let's define a multi-order item. And we're going to use similar structure. So we're just going to grab the same logic there. But I'm going to change this to type multiple. Let's pop back into this, and just so we have what we're trying to do. So multiple product, type is multiple, values we can provide multiple. What we're going to do is just grab all products that are available to us. So I'm going to make a all product codes list, and this is going to be a map of products, and we're just going to grab the code from the product. Like so. All product codes, and we're going to order the multi-order item. Okay, if we execute that, this wants to be values because it contains multiple items rather than just a single value. And amongst all these product codes, you can see the order has gone through. Fabulous. So this works for a very simple case, but we're not handling any errors here. So let's talk about error handling. There are a number of reasons that an order could fail. You can see we have various items around validation, and this is something you'll need to bake into handling on your side. So for example, a bad request or an unprocessable entity, these are errors where, so for example, if I popped in face value of say -10, the response for that, this one, will be a validation error, which is this 422, around the body item 0 face value. It's a negative number. But for example, if there was a network error or an issue with us responding, we would just need to retry the network request. So let's just do a basic implementation of that now. This may vary depending on how your backend is configured. So we'd want to take the same parameters, but with potentially a retry count. And we are going to try placing an order in the exact same parameters. We're going to catch the exception. And if I remember rightly, if the status is less than, say, 500, then that means that this is a request validation error. We're not going to be able to solve this by just retrying. So we're just going to have to re-raise the error. However, if you are, if the error is either a 500 or a network error, we want to retry placing this order. So we'll call this retry again, and we're going to add this retry count. So this parameter will mean we're not retrying indefinitely. We'll retry with a sensible number, and this function will loop the X number of times that is specified. So if we swap out our place order with the place order with retry, and I'll open that up again. We could do with returning what we're actually calling. And there we go. So if that was to error, we now have a try catch loop to catch those errors and retry. The important thing is we are generating this idempotency key once, and we're passing it through every time. So we're not retrying an order with a different idempotency key. And let me just demonstrate as well, if I was to, let's just switch back to single item just to make this a little bit more succinct. If I was to place an order with an idempotency key of, say, ABC, the first time I would get the correct order back, and you can see the ID here is ending in BVY. If I was to place the same request again, the ID also still ends with BVY. It's the exact same response you're getting back. A second order was not placed. But if I now modify the request that I'm sending, it's going to tell me off because this idempotency key has already been used and the request payload no longer matches. So now let's just revert that back to where we were a second ago. So we actually have a working implementation. We have this working against our playground environment. We've proved that this is working. I now want to test this on actual production and send a real gift card. So what I'm going to do is switch back over to the API key section. I'm going to generate myself a brand new API key. And this is going to be a production key this time. Again, acknowledge the security requirements. Again, these keys will have to be revoked after this session. And pop that key in there. We need to switch the base URL for the real endpoint. And I'm just going to bring in some product configurations that I know work. So we're going to be sending a single gift card. This one here. Because of that, we don't need to call the product endpoint. I'm ordering single, currency USD, face value can just be 1. Generate an idempotency key and spitting out the response. If I'm to call that now, again, pop this open, we can see that has gone through. Yep, that's my email. That is the product code I asked for. And I do have the link here, but what we want to see is that that email was sent to the address that I asked for. So we'll switch over to my email account. And there we go, that has arrived. So I've been sent a balance of $1. Pop open that email, click the button in the email. And there we go, all delivered from an integration just done now. Well, thank you very much for spending the time to watch this demonstration. If you have any questions or you want to kick off this migration, please do reach out to us to start that process. And any questions as well, feed that through to our team. Thank you.